أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين أما بعد فإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. This is the time when we look into Karbala, we find that there are many people who await and look towards the tents of Imam Hussein. Their swords are unsheathed. When we go near the tents of Imam Hussein, we find scattered bodies. When we draw nearer to the tents, we find a state of loneliness. We find cries and sobbing coming from the tents. When we look outside the tent, we find Hussein ibn Ali with his head buried inside his lap. He is filled with wounds and his beard is colored with blood. When we look inside his lap, we find a 6-month-old baby whose head is almost separated from its body. Hussein ibn Ali puts his child to rest, stands, goes to the tent of Abbas, looks inside it, and says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. With his longing gaze, he tries to find his Abbas. He comes to the tent of Habib, looks inside and says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He comes to his women and says, Ya Zainab, bring me the garments that my mother entrusted you with. She hears this. She says, Oh brother, shall I lose you? She brings the garments and Hussein tears them apart. She says, Oh brother, why do you do this? Zainab, they will take away my clothes. I do not wish my body to be left barren. No one shall desire torn clothes. Zainab, let us take news of my ailing child and let me bid him farewell. They go to Sajjad. Sajjad is unconscious. Hussein looks over his son. And as the tears descend from Hussein's eyes upon the cheeks of Sajjad, he regains consciousness. He focuses his eyes on Hussein, unable to recognize his wounded father. Oh aunt, it is my father. Support me. Allow me to sit so I may talk with him. Zainab sits behind Sajjad. Sajjad sits. He looks at Hussein. Oh father, what has become of the battle between you and the enemies of God? Oh child, I come to bid you farewell. When he hears this, he looks at Hussein and he says, Aina Ghammi al-Abbas. Where is my uncle Abbas? Zainab stares deep into the eyes of Hussein, not knowing how he will respond. Hussein looks at him. Ya bunayya qad qutil. Oh child, he has been killed. Sajjad cries uncontrollably and loses his consciousness. He awakens and he says, Aina Akhi Aliyun al-Akbar qad qutil. أين مسلم بن عوسجة قد قتل أين زهير? Imam says, all have been killed. Sajjad says, oh aunt, hand me my stick and my sword. Hussein says, oh child, what do you intend to do? Oh father, I cannot witness you in this state. He embraces Sajjad and calls out, O women of the household of the Prophet, know that after me he is your Imam. Know that after me he is the Hujjah of Allah. He says, Sajjad, you are the purest of my progeny. If you were to die, who will take my orphans back to Medina? Sajjad, you must live. He bids Sajjad farewell, comes towards the tent and calls out, Ya Zainabu, Ya Kulthum, Ya Sakina, Ya Rubab, Ya Fidda, alaykunna minni salam. O women, my final farewell, and after this separation, there will be no uniting until we meet on the day of Qiyamah. When he says this, the women surround him and fall at his feet and begin to cry. Look into the heart of Zainab and Kulthum, into the hearts of Sakina, into the hearts of Layla and Rubab, into the hearts of Fidda, as their eyes behold their Hussein for a final time. They fall at his feet and begin to lament. Hussein looks towards the sky and says, O Allah, allow them not to lose their lives on my grief. Allow them to live. He says, O Zainab, calm them. Allow them not to perish. Bear it with patience. Hussein bids them farewell. As he slowly begins to leave the tent, there is a call from behind him. Ya Aba Abdullah, Yabna Zahra, Mahlan, Mahlan, Ya Aba Abdullah. O Aba Abdullah, O son of Fatima. Pause for a moment. Hussein stops. He looks behind. Zainab comes to him, falls at his feet, and says, O brother, in whose care do you leave your Zainab? I have no grandfather, father, mother, or brother. O Zainab, O Hussein, how shall this sister bear separation from you? He takes her and embraces her and says, O Zainab, bear it with patience. Do not tear the arteries of my heart through your tears. For indeed, after I have gone, your grief shall know no end. She looks deep into his eyes and says, O son of my mother, take the glad tidings that your sister shall endure to a level that patience shall salute her. I must leave, O Zainab. O Hussein, if you must leave, then lower your head. As he lowers his head, she kisses his neck. O Zainab, what is this that you do? It was the last wish of our mother. She said, O child, when my Hussein comes to bid you farewell on the plains of Karbala, kiss that thirsty neck of his from me, for soon after it will be separated from his body. Zainab looks at Zainab. Hussein looks at Zainab and says, Zainab, uncover your wrists. As she uncovers her wrists, he begins to kiss her hand. Dear brother, what is this that you do? O sister, these hands of a princess shall be tied with ropes, as are tied the hands of slaves of Rome. He bids her farewell, ascends his steed, looks towards the right and towards the left, and calls out, Ya Fursan al-Hijja, ما لي يدعوكم فلا تجيبون وأغيث بكم فلا أستغيث بكم فلا تغيثون. O my brave soldiers, what has become of you? I call unto you, but you respond not. I plead to you for help, but you come not. By Allah, death has deprived them of speech. If God were to reinstill within them their souls, they would come running to me yet again. Then he looks towards his steed and spurs his steed and says, O steed, take your master to his final battle. Zuljana refuses to move. Hussein says, O steed, even though I know you are tired from the battle as is your master, I know you are thirsty as much as I, but I ask you to take me for one last time. As Hussein says this, the horse looks towards its hooves, and tears descend upon the earth. As the tears of the horse descend, a soft, broken voice ascends. O Father, I too have a last request. Hussein looks and says, O Sakina, what is it? O Father, descend from your steed. Hussein comes down from his steed. O Father, sit next to me. Hussein sits next to Sakina. Yes, O child. O Father, take me into your lap. Hussein takes his Sakina into his lap. O Father, caress my head as you would caress the head of an orphan. Sakina, I must go. But Father, why must you go? I may bring back water for you, O child. As soon as she hears the name of water, the child trembles. I am no longer thirsty, O Father. My uncle promised the same, and he has not returned. Sakina, I will leave. O Father, if you have to go, then take your Sakina back to Medina first. When he hears this, his eyes fill with tears and he cries uncontrollably, O Sakina, where now shall you see Medina? After me, your destiny will call you into a wilderness. O Zainab or Rubab, take this child from me and take care of her. Hussein enters into the battlefield, fights his enemy. As he fights gallantly, he says, By Allah, you shall not fight another like me. They look at him. They say, By God, we have not seen a person so deprived, so lonely, so hungry, so thirsty, so wounded, but yet he fights with such resolve. O Hussein, have we not torn the arms of your Abbas away from his body? O Hussein, have we not implanted a dagger deep in the chest of your Akbar? O Hussein, have we not torn away the body of your Qasim? O Hussein, have we not separated the head of your Asghar from his body? Why do you fight so? He says, By Allah, you will not fight another one like me. Hussein makes way to the Euphrates. The thirst of his child forces him into the water. For after all, he has promised Sakina that he will bring back water. He cups the water in his hand, and arrows are released upon him. He is wounded on his chest, neck, and face. He extracts the arrow, but is determined to take back water. As he prepares to fill the water skin, there is a call, O Hussein. As you drink from the water, we begin to loot your tents. As he hears this, in a rage he ascends his steed and comes out of the river, calling out, O man, I am still alive. What cause do you have with them? Kill me first. Shimmer says he is right. Kill him first and then loot the tent. Hussein in his battle 3 times goes back to the tents and calls out, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He was mindful of his sister. He knew that his Zainab's heart would be filled with anguish, and so he would go back to reassure her that he was still alive. On the 3rd occasion, when he went back to the battlefield, numerous archers were told, as soon as he appears, make him the single target of your arrows. As Hussein appears within the battlefield, the arrows are released from their bows and they penetrate within the body of Al-Hussein. Hussein is unable to contain himself as he descends upon the dust of Karbala. The 12th Imam cries out in his ziyarah, Peace be with my grandfather, who on the eve of Ashura was neither on the back of his horse nor on the plains of Karbala, but who hung between the two upon a bed of arrows. Hussein extracts the arrows, takes his blade and begins to fight. The enemies surround him, striking him from all directions. He looks towards the heavens and he says, O Allah, I have fulfilled my oath. Fulfill your oath. The heavens are silent. We find this scene that Hussein is so wounded, so strengthless, that he stands with his head lowered. Somebody rides up to him and strikes his blessed head with a sword. As he is falling, another one strikes his spear into his neck. He begins to tremble. His blood gushes from him. He says, Ridan biqadahi wa tasliman li amri. Hussein falls to the ground and begins to tremble. There is a call, await not, behead the man. As they begin to surround him, Zuljana begins to ward off their blows, encircles him. When Zuljana sees that he can no longer save Hussein, he places his neck upon the wounds of Hussein until its mane begins to drip with Hussein's blood, and then it makes way towards the tent, galloping and neighing. As the enemies surround him, Hussein is on his last breaths. He is in a state of sajda. They hesitate to behead him. They see the state of Hussein, that nobody dares move. Shimr advances. He grabs Hussein by the hair of his head and flings him upon his back. As he throws him upon his back, he places his knee upon the chest of Hussein. Hussein looks at him. He said, Shimr, you will be the one who will kill me. But Shimr, if you must kill me, then place a drop of water into my mouth. By God, O Hussein, you will not taste water until you taste my blade. O Shimr, do you know what place is it that you ascend? It is the chest of best of man, born to best of man and women. But by God, I will slaughter you. Hussein finds a shadow upon him, and I take you into a mystical realm. Hussein says, who is this? And a crying voice calls out, O Hussein, it is I, your mother, Fatima. O mother, have you seen what they have done to me? O child, I am with you now. As Shimr extracts his dagger and begins to place it on the neck of Hussein, Fatima looks on, oh father, they are slaughtering your child. Muhammad turns his face, oh Ali, save him. Ali bows. Oh Hassan, shall you not come to me? They all leave the plane of this world, turning their faces and sobbing. Fatima looks at Hussein, and Fatima's arms begin to tremble. He says, "Oh mother, shall you not stay with me? Oh mother, will you not be with me? Will you leave me?" She says, "Oh child, I am but a mother. How may I witness this blood oozing from your neck? Oh mother, with whom do you leave me?" She says, "Look towards the hill." Hussein looks towards the hill and he finds his Zainab. We are told that when grief befell the women of Arabia and they found no escape, in despair they would put their hands upon their heads and cry out. Zainab places her hand upon her head and says, "Ya layta as-samaa tabaqna ala al-ard." If only the heavens would fall upon the earth. If only the lofty mountains would crumble. Isn't there a Muslim among you who will save my brother? Hussein looks towards Zainab and in his glances says something to her. She turns. She is walking back, looking towards the battlefield, calling out, "Oh Aba Abdullah, call on to me so that I know you are still alive." As Zainab retreats, Karbala feels a tremor. The sun becomes eclipsed. There is a violent wind that begins to blow. Bewildered, she goes into the tent of Sajjad. Oh child, take news of your father and inform me." Sajjad comes to the tent. As he lifts the cloth of the tent, he says, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah." She says, "Oh child, why do you salute him?" He says, "Oh aunt, that is his head being lifted upon the end of the spear." Fatima Hussein.